What is going on, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another episode of The Kingdom Says. I am your host, as always, back in the saddle, Mr. Garrett Williams. Tonight, I am joined by my two usual co-hosts. We've got Mr. Kyle Henning in the top right of the screen. How are we doing tonight, Kyle?
I'm here. It's been a unfun week since Saturday. I mean, if you want to talk Black Friday, it wasn't great either, but Saturday was really rough. Haven't felt good really at all since I woke up Saturday morning and still kind of dealing with whatever the hell is going around. So I'm present to talk about both of these. I'm sure going to be joyous experiences over the next what happened 4 days ago and what's going to happen in 3 days.
Yeah, man. There's sicknesses going around Kingdom Says, unfortunately. I was out sick last week. Kyle's not feeling good. Arrowhead Tom is joining us as well. How are you feeling, Tom?
Oh, spry and peaceful, and I am not stressed at all. But again, my doctor did just up my Zoloft. So if you're struggling, Chiefs Kingdom, talk to your psychiatrist.
Also, check the side effects and consult your physician. Don't just go take the Zoloft out of your mom or grandma's medicine cabinet.
What's the worst that can happen? Somebody's not talking about heroin. But
don't ask those questions.
The Kingdom Says podcast do not endorse the illicit use of drugs,
especially when not prescribed to yourself.
Don't do that.
Do not do drugs, kids. Don't do drugs unless they are approved and sold to you by Big Pharma and Big Pharma exclusively. We're gonna stop that conversation because
we're gonna put on a list, Tom.
Garrett, save us before I get us in trouble.
Boy, oh howdy, yeah. Anyways, we're back. One episode for you guys this week, scheduling and just Kyle not feeling well and all that stuff. So we're gonna get one mega episode recapping the Black Friday matchup versus the Raiders. That was it was a game. It was a game that the Chiefs won. So we're gonna talk about that.
Every other game they've played this season. That's what it was.
That was a pretty bad one though. It was pretty bad.
It was pretty.
Yeah. It was a fun one.
Left a ton of stuff on the table. Dominated the whole thing until they decided to not dominate the whole thing, and then made it way closer than it needed to be. Then almost gave it away. Then didn't. Yeah, that really pretty much covers it up.
Well, even this game felt like they made more weird calls than normal. It's like at one point I was like, are they trying to lose actively that deep shot like Xavier Worthy? As fun as it would have been. Here's my problem with it.
That was the worst one.
You had no other outlets. You had one. That was the equivalent.
That's because they had to protect him somehow, and then still didn't.
Yeah. But it was like you went all in on one player. And yes, Travis.
And he won.
Yeah, and he won, and then Mahomes missed.
No, because he got killed.
Yep, Mahomes, and we see this sometimes between the inconsistencies with the offensive line. Because Mahomes took some shots on Sunday.
Well, the reason he got killed wasn't his offensive line. That was his Hall of Fame tight end. But hey.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I thought.
Yeah.
He just whiffed.
Yep. What I originally thought was maybe what he was doing was kind of a block and release.
Nope. Except he didn't touch him, and he didn't release.
He didn't curl out in the flat. That would have made more sense. It would have been more helpful than just whiffing and letting the guy go by. But really weird play call in that situation. Because
I want to be mad at that play call. I do, but we've asked Andy to be aggressive for 17 years, and then he's aggressive, and they get him killed, and it's...
That ain't the time to do that, though. 3rd and 2, you get a first down, you win the game.
We have begged for him to be aggressive on 3rd and 2.
You got to just
run
the ball.
We have begged for him to be aggressive on 4th and 2. He won't do it. He does it, and then he gets his quarterback killed because his best freaking receiving and tight end on the team doesn't touch a guy. Sometimes, as much frustration as I had with the play calling in that game, sometimes the players have to do their jobs.
That's true. You were right. Kelsey was not doing his job on that. He messed up, and I think it's fair. Just like it's fair to criticize Mahomes when he's having a bad game. Travis Kelce doesn't play perfect games either.
On that same note, Travis shouldn't be playing 90% of the freaking snaps, and that's a coaching issue.
Yeah, especially with how well Noah Gray's been.
Just get him the ball more. I mean, I know we have no more tight ends behind them.
Ask him to make that block.
Yeah.
No, might have been
Bring
out
in an
there. Was
extra
Noah
back,
not out there
anything,
too? Because they had like a
anything other
2
than
or
that.
3 tight end set.
They had 9 guys in protection, so it's hard for me to tell you who was where because literally it was Xavier Worthy and I think the running back or one other person in a kind of route, and then 9 or 10 guys in 9. So yeah, sorry, they had 9 in protection, Mahomes and Worthy on the deep ball. It was literally a one read play.
It was all in. Like that was my problem with it.
That's fine. I can understand that.
The play call equivalent of taking all your chips and going, put it all on black. And that's fine being aggressive, but like I'm what like Tyreek Hill against the Cleveland Browns, kind of, little flare route aggressive. Not that. That is not the time to establish the deep shots. They're going to be there, and they tried this last year and they struggled, and then they opened up a little bit in the playoffs. But
they're there. The shots are there. He just has yet to hit them. Whether it's Mahomes, whether it's the receiver, whether it's the line, it has been a cacophony of errors by somebody throughout the process in every single deep shot they've taken. Every single one.
Yep, they just cannot execute those plays. They did have one to D-Hop that was solid, but
PI, the 30-yard pass interference call, or the other one?
No,
D-Hop had a good game. D-Hop had a pretty good game in general, besides that one drop.
Let's say D-Hop also was very mad at himself for not catching that one where he was wearing the guy as a shirt, but
that was a ridiculous escape and scramble from Mahomes, and that was tough. That was tough for D-Hop, the most automatic weapon to drop that. Listen, I think overall the offense, I think can be summed up with, they actually did move the ball down the field fairly well in the game. Now, once they got into the red zone, that was a different story. But they did seem to travel down the field pretty well. Like we said, D-Hop had a pretty good game. That pass interference won that game like 30 yards. He had a couple other big catches down the sideline that were really good. So he had a good day. Overall, like the running back combo of Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco, didn't see much of it. Yeah, I mean, we saw a little bit. Pacheco had a couple. He had one really big run.
He had one run, and I think they gave Kareem Hunt like 7 snaps, 7 carries.
Yeah, overall, not a huge running day out of the group. But
it was 15 combined carries, right? 7 apiece, and then 1 for Carson Steele.
Yeah, Carson did get 1. Yeah, he did get 1.
Pro Bowl vote leader in AFC West in the AFC fullback category, Carson Steele.
He's listed as fullback. Yeah, I mean, there's actually no, he didn't even have a carry. It was 7 for Pacheco and 7 for Kareem.
Was it a Mahomes rush that I had for the 15th attempt?
Yeah, Mahomes had 2 carries, so it was 16 total. Yeah.
I knew it was something like that.
Didn't see much of that. Yeah, it was. I mean, Pacheco had 7 for 44. Kareem had 7 for 15. So
they did not seem to be running the ball much. Right? 33-yard long on the one. So it was
I forget. Yeah, I think it was a 33
for 11. Other than that, yeah.
Yeah. So not very productive day running the ball, which kind of hurt them. But they did seem to go they were just much more pass heavy in general with the game plan. It seemed like
it's hard to run the ball when the left side of your line can't move.
Well, yeah, it's also hard to pass the ball when your left tackle gets beat instantly.
He just cannot move.
Doesn't even lay a hand on the edge rushers. That's always great to see. But yeah, they were completing a lot of passes. Travis Kelce had 7 catches for 68 yards. D-Hop had 4 for 90, which is great. Noah Gray had 4 for 58. Xavier Worthy had 5 for 54, which that's pretty commendable for the Rook. And then a bunch of other individual shots, including the one catch from Justin Watson that was a touchdown for Mahomes' record-setting touchdown of surpassing Len Dawson in most touchdown passes in Chiefs history, which that was a cool moment and a really good, really crazy throw if you go back and look at that throw. Part of the crazy throw happened because
on that throw too.
Because spoiler alert, the left tackle got beat again instantly.
You're not supposed to be able to make that
getting
throw.
Laid out, and he no hip movement, no feet work at all. Literally just all arm, no look, flicks it to the back of the end zone for Jay Watt for the touchdown. So that was pretty eventful of a touchdown, and that was the lone touchdown on the day for the Chiefs. So had a lot of other red zone trips, and they did not result in 6 points or more. So. lot of field goals out of what was his name? Matthew Wright. Yeah, 4 for 5 on field goals, including one that he missed from like 59 or something.
That the one that he missed never had a prayer on
Yeah,
earth.
it was a pretty cold day out there in Arrowhead, and even
the ball
Daniel
was
Carlson
frozen solid. He was
exactly the
kicking
ball.
a cinder block.
Yeah, Daniel Carlson, who is a really good kicker for the Raiders and has a really big leg.
Also, never had a chance on any three of the kicks he was asked to make.
He had like a 58-yarder that might have went 45. Like it just absolutely. Yeah, it was like kicking an ice rock.
I thought it got blocked because of the sound it made, and then I realized, oh no, that's just the sound the football makes right now because it's frozen solid.
Yeah, so that was an eventful portion of the day, the kicking game. But overall, Matthew Wright was the main contributor on points today with 13 out of the 19 points. So.
And now he's on your active roster because the Chiefs have put another kicker on IR.
Another kicker on IR. Yeah, another player on IR, Spencer Schrader, going on.
It's been a weird year for injuries for Kansas City. That's the other thing. Is this team is relatively healthy.
Yeah, it's been bad. It's been bad
like
for us.
6
but
years
also,
they've been relatively healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but also if you just compare around the league a little bit, it does seem like we do have it good a little bit in comparison, like a team like the 49ers, who are just, my goodness. I mean, they talk about horrible injury luck. We're almost kind of thankful for all that we have. So, but it's still been way more than
we've still lost 2 starting wide receivers, a starting cornerback. A starting kicker.
Just got the starting running back back. We just got our starting running back back. Like a week.
Did you mention Hollywood? Was that a part of the?
That's 2 of the starting wide receivers.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, we've definitely had a pretty rough go. Like 4 tight ends we've had on injured reserve now.
You've had half a left tackle for 5 weeks.
Yeah. 49ers do have it pretty bad though. We can't sure.
You were also returning your starting left guard from a torn pec. You were returning
just got Omenihu back.
3 different DBs from torn
back.
Which
from
we're
major surgeries and whatnot. You're returning Charles Omenihu from major surgery. Like, no, this team has had some awful injuries.
It's been pretty tough. Yeah, it's been definitely more than usual. So, but yeah, overall, offensively wise, I don't know how much more you guys want to get into. That was kind of the offensive performance. It was not great.
I disagree. It was great, except for like 2 areas.
Yeah, the most crucial areas, it seems like. Red zone, just got to clean up the red zone. Just got to run the ball a little more, a little more productive.
Well, Kyle, I think you've got thoughts. Or do you want me to go?
Go ahead.
All right. Couple of things. And I want to add this caveat because we do this relatively frequently when we talk about players who are not performing well in the field. To remind you guys, these are all people. They've worked really hard to be here, and they would beat me up in the parking lot if I said half the things that you say to them on Twitter to their faces. Wanye Morris is a young kid. He's 24 years old. He's a 3rd-round pick out of Oklahoma. He is talented. He has dealt with some injury stuff. There's some content out there that talked about the differences in his grades, before and after the injury earlier this year. Yes, his play is rough right now. Let's not go too far and throw the baby out with the bathwater here and say, hey, this is a young player who could still turn into something with some more time to develop, with maybe a better role for his position. I always thought he would get that right tackle. And honestly, when they drafted him, the idea was, hey, this is probably going to be your swing tackle for the next 4 years, right? This is your 6th offensive lineman, not necessarily supposed to be your starting left tackle. And maybe, at least not consistently, not long term. So I also want to say, I'm looking at this graph in front of me from PFF. Wanye Morris is left on an island to block by himself, no running back, no guards, more often than Jawan Taylor is. Like significantly more than Jawan Taylor is. Jawan Taylor has him about 55, a little over 55% of the time, and then Wanye is at like 65% of the time. So Wanye's got a harder job, and he's a younger player. I don't know. I know everybody wants to start and wants the challenges, all that stuff. So we talked about it a couple weeks ago with Randy on the pod. Our offensive tackles are oversetting. They're getting beat across their face, and like Kyle said earlier, Wanya, I mean, he's struggling. He's struggling to move. There were a couple of snaps where he just didn't even get hands on guys. And even when early in the season, like, or even going into last year when he had some snaps, like it wasn't that bad. So reading between the cards here, there's more going on here. Obviously, the caveat I added in there was just be careful about how you talk about these young guys. Same thing with Kingsley. We know we had high hopes for him. I promise you, there's nobody out there who had higher hopes for Kingsley than me. To say he's disappointed how it's played out, yeah. But young players, chance to develop.
Yeah,
hopefully,
really
we've talked ad nauseum about Andy Heck and whether or not that's going to be a good option for that developmental piece. And again, and so here's my one, and this is where I'm going to tee off a little bit on the offensive line, and I'm going to focus specifically on Jawan Taylor and some of those other guys. That performance, and it has been sloppy. And whether you want to say it's a coaching issue or whether you want to say it's a player issue, at some point, as a unit, you have to come together and have a little bit more damn pride than what you're putting out there. You know, Jawan Taylor should not still be getting busted for these false starts, these holding, and these stupid penalties we see every week.
Yeah, the illegal formations. Yeah.
You need to have some damn pride in your job and do differently. I will also say, I think that because of the depth issues at tackle, they have been hesitant to do anything about that because, you know, we saw this last year in the Detroit game when Jawan was struggling and they pulled him for a couple of series or a couple of snaps.
Yeah.
I don't think they can do that right now because they've got Wanya and they don't have really a guy behind him that they can slide in.
Who they even put in? Did they put in Niang?
It might have been Niang. I thought
or Prince Tega potentially. It might have been Wanya. I forget. Yeah,
but that's the kind of stuff that, and I get it. You're paying him a lot of money. He's established. He's all that stuff. But man, it is so frustrating to watch him do the same things every week. Watch him overset. Watch him when he can't line up correctly. Who taught this man to line up? Kadarius Toney. I mean, come on. These are not. Oh, you know, I can forgive a holding. You know, because a holding means, hey, I got beat, but I'm trying to keep my guy's jersey clean, right? I can forgive a holding call, even though that's usually more yardage. But when you can't line up correctly, or when you're cheating off the snap and still getting your lunch handed to you,
yeah,
come on, man, have some more pride, have some more discipline. As a unit, I want to see this offensive line get it together. And I want to see them really get out there and bully somebody. We talk about the get right games and that kind of stuff. Man, that's what bothers me the most is it feels like the mental fortitude of that unit is just non-existent. So it's three interior guys. They come in, they do their job, they kick ass, take names, and that. But those tackles, it's like they get beat and they just shrug it off. Yeah, man. You know, I don't see any fire from them. I don't see any, you know, like, come on, Jawan. Wanya, like I said, I think he's a good kid. I think he's trying. I think it's a bad position. I think he's probably pushing through some things, you know, injury-wise. I'm disappointed from the lack of fire I see from them. You know, I think about when Orlando Brown Jr. was here and they had the 0 sack T-shirts and that type of thing. Like,
come on, closet right now. No.
Yeah, where's that sense of pride of, hey, we're going to go to work as a unit and we're going to do our jobs. And
I definitely agree. I think that's there definitely needs to be some kind of shift in mindset for especially the tackles. And you know, Wanya, he has been playing pretty hurt, and that's very evident. Whether he shows up on the injury report or not, which I guess they just don't want to put him on the injury report if he's not getting treatment or I don't know how that works exactly. It feels like he should be on the injury report.
Yeah. It may not even be that he's playing hurt in the moment.
Oh, he's hurt.
It's just I mean, so let me rephrase
Or
that.
just
You can
not
be
as confident
recovered
as-
from an injury physically,
Yeah.
but getting your bearings right, like getting, there. Sometimes you're still just developing those smaller muscles, those finer movements,
Yeah.
or maybe, like we're saying, listen, I don't know if the NFLPA is listening to our podcast. I don't want to out anybody.
No, I legitimately don't think they have to because he's not getting treatment on it because there's nothing they can do for it. That's where we're at with that injury. So Nate Taylor did a fairly good job of trying to explain without giving away the tea. Like, he's not on the injury report because they're not doing anything about it because there's nothing they can do about it. So he's just riding it out.
It's just like more rehab and just needs to rehab it better. And
no, there's not anything to rehab.
The bone groups.
Yeah, you can't rehab it. The only way that gets better is not using it for like a long period of time. Yeah, trust me, I've had a couple. Not fun.
Yeah, so that's definitely part of the tackle problem and Wanye. And I did like his response post game in the locker room, reacting because they did end up pulling him at the end there and slid Joe Tooney over to left tackle and put Mike Caliendo at left guard, which I enjoyed. I enjoyed that move. I thought that was a move they should have made earlier.
Joe Tooney got pushed back into Pat's lap both times.
Yeah, I mean, he had like 4 pass sets, basically. I will say he didn't get beat as quickly. I mean, he did, that first play. And as you know, Joe Tooney, he's not exactly a tackle. Like, he has played tackle before.
Coming
and has
off
that
major injury.
Yeah, and, first play going against and get bull rushed. I mean, it's tough, especially when you haven't been practicing at that position. Just kind of get tossed over there is you can't fault him too hard. But going forward, there'll be a whole different story, and we'll talk about that with this upcoming matchup. But I did like Wanye's response to the criticism, and it's just one of those things. You hope that he keeps working and they figure something out for him. But it does seem like he'll get a little bit of time at least to not be fully using that leg, you might say. So overall offensive line does seem to be kind of the story of where the offense excels and where it declines at, and it's not as good. So
I want to touch on 2 points. One being the conversation of which, I mean, we have a little bit, like he's injured and playing because they don't have another option because of how they handled Kingsley earlier this year, which I beat into the ground. So I'm not going to waste the time doing it again. That's an Andy and Andy issue. That's their fault. That's on them. To Tom's point that they're helping Juwan more than Wanye. Yes. Who's lining up over Juwan Taylor? Max Crosby, Nick Bosa, Miles. They're all on that side of the line. You've got random, the problem this week against the Raiders was not Max Crosby. Guess who it was?
Caleb Von Chason.
Looked like freaking Reggie White.
Yeah. Had more pressure in this game than he did his entire Jacksonville career.
His whole career. Okay? Yeah. Now, again, not Wanye's fault necessarily because he's hopping around on one leg and cannot move. Like, it's real evident. He cannot move that left. I think it's his left leg because he basically has it. Whenever he goes to put any kind of weight on it or push back into it, it's like he's wincing almost. Because of that, we are using the same hand punch every time. When that happens, guess what?
The same way every time.
They know what you're going to do. So what do they need to do? The same counter. Yeah. It's like when you played Mortal Kombat and your little brother or your big brother would spam the one button over and over again that you just couldn't stop and you knew it was coming, but there was no defense for it. That's what happened. It's what's happened for like 3 weeks now.
Except there's a pretty good defense for it. It seems like they're
sit him. That's the only defense for it.
Yeah.
So the thing is, to blame Wanye is not fair, but to say that his job is harder than Juwan's when Juwan is facing the stud guy usually and Wanye is not exactly accurate. And Juwan, largely minus the inability to put his head on Trey Smith's belt loop, which I still can't figure out how that's a fucking problem every week, has been largely good. The false start thing, you're going to get one every once in a while because it's just ingrained into him to try to get off the ball immediately. And even if he's perfectly synced up with the snap, have you seen the guys that they have officiating these games?
Mm-hmm.
Because I have, and they can't usually get basic things right. So what makes you think they're going to be able to tell when somebody's simultaneously leaving when the ball does? Not a lot. I'll take a false start here and there for that. The lining up thing is going to drive me to pull my hair out of my head. They teach you that in kindergarten. It's not that fucking hard. It's not.
ABCs, how to stand in the line, how to line up for block.
To Tom's point of where's the fire, where's that energy, where's that? It's hard when you have no confidence. And I've talked about this coaching staff's inability to help breed confidence into this iteration of this offensive line. It started in week 2, and it's snowballed from there. And I will hammer that until the cows come home. You made your bed with the confidence issues of this offensive line when you handled the situations at the tackle position the way you have. Period. Point blank, end of story. Because you wrecked their chemistry that they built all training camp in week 2 and have now been playing piecemeal it together ever since. Also, who's the vocal leader of that offensive line? It should probably be Creed, but it's not really his personality type.
Yeah,
Joe Tooney, not really his personality type. Trey Smith is a loud, boisterous dude.
Yeah,
but also not really.
Yeah,
does that sound like Jawan's personality type to you? Because everything I've seen from that dude in interviews, that's not his game.
Yeah.
And the guy who had confidence is 21 years old, and then you shot his confidence out back when you did everything you did in week 2. Now you've taken all your fire off, and Wanye doesn't seem to be that big, vocal, boisterous guy. So who's that guy? Mike Caliendo? No. So, you can talk about that all you want, but somebody's got to be the dog in that room, and I don't know who it is. I don't know who that vocal call you out, put you on your is. I will give Orlando Brown credit for that. He at least did that. He wasn't great in a lot of other areas. There's been a lot of whole distance makes the heart fonder going on with Orlando Brown Jr.
For real, I think that is wild that people are saying that.
Bro, some of the discourse that I
mean, maybe he'd be slightly better of an option, but not really. He's been getting cooked this year too.
Ask Joe Burrow how often that's worked out for him over the last 2 years.
He gets beat like a drum the same way Wanye does. So what are we talking about? That's the crazy part to me.
Exactly. Like I said, distance makes the heart grow fonder. It happens sometimes.
And we would have paid him a ridiculous amount of money for him to be doing that instead of Wanye's rookie contract. At least we're paying Wanye a rookie contract to get beat, instead of paying him whatever the heck Orlando Brown Jr. is making to get beat in the same exact way.
The other point of the offense that I wanted to talk about is quietly your MVP Hall of Fame quarterback has looked more and more and more and more like your MVP Hall of Fame quarterback should.
Yeah,
a
lot better.
In spite of all of the things we just talked about, we had 300 yards on
306.
Friday.
Yeah, 306.
And he got hit every freaking time he threw the ball. Yeah. And he had a drop by one of the best wide receivers to ever play the sport. And his Hall of Fame tight end ran the wrong route in cover 0 and cost himself a record-setting touchdown of his own because he went the wrong way. And he knew it, and Patrick knew it, everybody knew it. It was the first thing I was like, Travis, where are you going? And, of course, you watch Travis put his hands on his head because he was like, yep. Like, they shredded that defense. They just didn't score. And part of it had to do with the offensive line getting whooped in the condensed space, mostly at left tackle, because in smaller areas of the field, the time that it takes to do things is a lot quicker because there's a lot more bodies and a lot less space. So, going to be harder. Also, didn't run the ball at all because your left tackle cannot move. So they know you're running to the right. Period.
That's true.
It's the one benefit that Kingsley gives you over Wanye in that scenario is that he can actually move and run block still. That's it. So that was my point of if you're going to watch Wanye just get baptized over and over again because he can't move, Kingsley does that too, but at least you can run the ball that direction, and the Raiders can't stop the run, so run the ball.
That would have been
the
ideal.
offense looked fine for large stretches of the game. Between the 20s for large portions, they were up 16-3, guys, at one point. Patrick looks fine, even despite getting pummeled.
Yeah, no, Patrick's looking really good. Yeah.
I know we've done like doom and gloom the last 2 or 3 podcasts. I want to highlight there's plenty of positives.
Yeah.
DeAndre Hopkins is the number 1 wide receiver.
Yeah.
There's Xavier Worthy, very good. Open a lot.
Good. Really good.
Just wish we could touch up a little bit of the timing. Travis, 7 for 68. Solid again. Like I said, even with the completely missed block and the totally misread the defense on the cover 0 look for the tutty. Like, even in spite of those,
he had a lateral.
Still played well. Another one that was real well done to Samaje Perine because teams have yet to figure out that the guy trailing him by 3 yards is going to get the ball if you try to tackle him.
Everybody knows except for the defense that's going to happen, it seems like.
But it's also, if you don't tackle Travis and you try to read it and go pick the lateral, Travis is going to go, just kidding, and run off the ball.
It's hard to stop. Yeah, it's hard to stop.
So I get everybody, and like I said, the Jawan Taylor discourse has jumped the shark, in my opinion, in a lot of ways. Everybody's acting like they're both Wanye Morris or Lucas Niang or insert tackle that Andy Heck hasn't developed here. Jawan Taylor has played largely real fine. Pass blocking, whatnot. The lining up, yes. The holding every once in a while, sure. The false start, it's going to happen once in a while. Just is. The lining up thing is the problem for him. But on the whole, they played well as an offense like 5 weeks in a row now.
Yeah, it's definitely been trending upwards. Yeah, and that's, I think, especially
Patrick playing well.
Yeah, he's
DeAndre playing well. Travis playing well. Xavier, they're getting contributions from Noah Gray and Justin Watson. Hell, I didn't even mention Juju's name.
Yeah, he caught a pass. A pass.
But like they didn't need him to move the ball or do anything. He wasn't even really on the field much. So this offense and they're getting ready to get more reinforcements, it sounds like, in a couple of weeks here with Hollywood Brown's return.
Christmas.
It's now made it national news that he's going to be back this season. So they don't let those cats out of the bag unless it's happening. I think we all need to take a collective breath. They are trending upwards. They are getting better. They are starting to get to their peak, and you want them peaking at this point in time. Now is the time for the offense to play its best football between now and February. Not September to now to February. So they're on their progression. They're on their track. Has it looked problematic? Yes. Have there been issues? Of course. Are they completely decimated by injury? Absolutely. Are they starting to get a little bit healthier? Yes. So let's see what this looks like as it continues. They still control their own destiny with the 1 seed. They still are winning games. That, as frustrating as the defense has been the last several weeks with the lack of cornerback, the offense has not been that problem. So I think that's important to highlight on the offensive side of the ball is your Hall of Fame quarterback and his weapons are starting to find rhythm and play better.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with a lot of that sentiment. So
I want to add this real quick.
Yeah.
We talked about this before the DJ Humphrey signing. If you watched his press conference, one of the things that he said that got me jazzed, and I think we talked about it being an A-plus press conference, he talked about everywhere he'd been, Arizona, but in the different systems, all that stuff, he had always been the standard. He'd always been the leader. And one of the things that was refreshing coming to Kansas City was like he has guys like Pat and Travis Now that's a lot of lip service. He's still new, but it sounds like he's taken to the team. The team's taken to him. He could be the remedy for that vocal leader. We talked about that, for these young guys. So again, realistic expectations, but that's a big deal. That pickup is a big deal.
That's gonna be a big deal.
That culture fit.
Yeah,
can be a big deal for them. So, and he's not like, he's been around, but he's 30. He's not old for an offensive tackle, right?
Yeah.
So,
coming off a major surgery, but we'll see how that.
So I just want to point that out because as we're talking about the improving,
that is one position that is set to improve. It seems like is the left tackle, hopefully. So that is the offense for you. Still should have ran the ball on 3rd and 2, but that is the offense. Let's transition over to the less fun side of the ball to talk about, which is unfortunate because this has been the more fun side of the ball to talk about for.
They gave up 17 points.
Yeah, Aiden O'Connell had 340 passing yards.
They gave up 17 points.
Aiden O'Connell had 340 passing yards.
They gave up 17 points.
Yeah.
Aiden O'Connell had 340 passing yards.
You know who doesn't give a flying about the yardage they give up? Steve Spagnuolo. I don't care. Spags cares. If you care, that's great. They don't care. Between the 20s, they do not care how much they move the ball.
That is not sustainable to have Aiden O'Connell throwing 340 yards, Sincere McCormick having 64 yards,
looks sustainable to me.
39 yards. I mean, we can call a spade a spade. The defense did not have a good outing. Like I
agree. Poor coaching performance in some of those areas for sure. Don't love a lot of the design. Don't love a lot of the scheme setups for this game.
I think at halftime, we've seen this before. I don't want to say Steve took his foot off the gas, but it felt like it's almost like they were wanting to give the offense a chance to carry the game. And then the offense was like, actually, guys, we can't do it.
Actually, we can't do it.
Like, all right, we got this. And stepped back up because it was kind of that third, fourth quarter where, things were kind of going wonky and the Chiefs couldn't move the ball, and then the defense, kind of locked in. Although they also struggled on that final drive.
Mightily. I mean, they basically lost the game for him on that final drive. In all intents and purposes, like
he still has to make that kick, and he missed a lot of kicks that day.
I mean, that is
50 plus at that point.
He missed 3 kicks, so it's.
I will echo, what we've talked about. Didn't run the game. The defense was also getting gassed towards the end there. Because and here's the other thing that I've been seeing, is we are ending up with some of these like longer drives in the 3rd and 4th quarters. From opposing
can't get off the field very easily.
Yep.
Those,
Yeah. So it's like you have a 9-play, 3-minute drive to start the 3rd quarter, then a 10-play, drive to start. After the Chiefs go 7 plays. And so it's there's a little bit of, we got to get the defense off the field, but also
gotta get off the field. Yeah.
Here's the 4th quarter, right? So the Chiefs, they kick the field goal at the early in the 4th quarter. Raiders punt. Chiefs 4 plays and a punt. Raiders 8 plays, long drive, missed field goal.
They went 28 yards. Fumble, what part of that is long?
Yeah. Okay, not a long drive. They went 8 plays, 2 minutes
8 plays long.
No, I want to do this real quick because we're freaking out about the yardage. So let's do this. So the first drive of the game, the Raiders went 5 plays for a yard.
True.
A yard. The Chiefs went 9 plays for 40 yards and punted from the Vegas 37.
Yeah, that was pretty tough. I mean, it would have been
now 4th and 20 because penalties and stupidity. But yeah. So then we go to the next drive, 10 plays, 83 yards, and they kicked a field goal. They held in the red zone. Fine, they gave up yardage on that drive.
Yep.
The next freaking drive from the Chiefs, 3 plays, 6 yards, minus 6 yards, punt.
Mm-hmm.
They then proceeded to give up 17 yards on 7 plays for that next drive and a missed field goal. The Chiefs then had their touchdown drive. The next drive after that, 5 plays, 27 yards, punt. Chiefs missed the field goal at the end of the half from freaking the 60-yard line, which was never going in. Like, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
First drive out of halftime, 8 plays, 45 yards, turnover on downs. Chiefs, next drive, 7 plays, 47 yards, 3 minutes, field goal. Raiders, 8 plays, 33 yards on 4 minutes, missed field goal. Chiefs, 7 plays, 38 yards, 1 minute and 17 seconds.
Yep.
Field goal. The next drive, the Raiders only had to go 26 yards off a made field goal. Why is that? For a touchdown. They had to go 26 yards for a touchdown off a made field goal.
Right. They had the long kick return.
Yeah, they gave Amir Abdullah a 68-yard kick return.
Yep.
Yeah, it doesn't help.
Yeah, that'll do it.
The next drive after that touchdown, 3 plays, -1 yard, 1 minute and 35 seconds for the Chiefs offense. That doesn't seem great. Do you know what happened after that? 2 plays for 59 with a 59-yard touchdown pass. There's literally a fourth of Aiden O'Connell's yards. There's a fourth of Aiden O'Connell's 346 yards. Right there, one play.
Yeah,
I don't know if that maps out exactly the fourth. It's like a
60 yards on 340. So a fifth. Sorry.
Maybe. Yeah.
It's a big chunk.
They then, after that, go field goal on 11 plays. The Chiefs actually took some time off the clock, let the defense breathe for half a second. 5 plays, 15 yards, punt. Defense had a breather. They got to actually make plays and stop the guys. The Chiefs then proceeded to go 3 plays, 7 yards, punt. Minute and a half. 8 plays, 28 yards, missed field goal. 3 plays, 8 yards, punt. 21 seconds of game clock for the Chiefs offense on that drive.
Yeah, that don't help. Yeah.
7 plays, 54 yards. Fumble. And every set of that 54 yards was passing for Aiden O'Connell on that last drive.
Yeah, that was that last drive.
Yeah,
so 2 drives made up over a third of Aiden O'Connell's yards, and including one of them being 59 yards on a blown coverage because Steve Spagnuolo has Justin Reed trying to play man coverage on one of the fastest players on the field.
Yeah, that was very interesting.
Yeah.
That should have been the game plan.
Also,
hey, number 11 runs like a 4-3.
Also, when you give up 140 yards to Brock Bowers because you refuse to cover him with someone bigger than Garrett is a problem.
Another big problem. Yeah, it's another big problem. Yeah.
That's coaching, not
what was Justin Reed doing?
Shamari Connor was in coverage on Brock Bowers for 90% of this game.
Yeah, that is not.
He's outweighed by 4 inches and 40 pounds. The other guy that they put on him, on one of Brock Bowers' insane catches, because they get paid too, and that kid's really good, was really on Trent McDuffie.
Yeah, he's really good.
So
also a mismatch. Yeah.
You can talk to me about the yardage for Aiden O'Connell all you want. Part of that's a manufacture of Spags doing stupid things with his personnel on some of these matchups, and part of it is that dude's a freak. The guy he's throwing it to, not the guy throwing it himself. Yeah. They also only gave up 17 points.
I suppose, yeah. I mean, I said 3 missed field goals.
And your offense did nothing for you in the entire second half. Nothing.
Listen, I mean, I'm not saying that the defense is.
But you're talking about yardage like that matters, and it doesn't. It just doesn't matter. The yardage does not matter.
It did not. If you have Josh Allen doing that to you, it's all of a sudden
that's fine.
Like part of this is because the Raiders are just god awful and can't convert and can't score in red zones. I don't know if we should be praising the defense for that. I think we can call a spade and say the defense.
They didn't get to the red zone for most of the game. Most of those missed field goals were from 58 and out. 55, 56, 58. Like,
they were pretty tough field goals.
Like I said, you can be freaked out about the box score, but the yardage does not matter to Spags. It never has.
I guess, but if we keep this performance up, the defense has been on a downward
trend. They have
to
be better. But that's largely is not due to the personnel.
We should not be proud of that performance in any way, shape, or form, in my opinion. But that's just me. that's just me. There were some very good highlights on the defensive line. That's a great highlight. Chris Jones, two sacks on the day, getting Charles Omenihu back, really provided some
Huge
juice for that
factor.
pass rush. That was really good to see. But yeah, the linebackers, they had Nick Bolton had 10 tackles on the day, so shout out him, I guess. He was tackling Sincere McCormick a lot when he was like 5-10 yards down the field array, so that was not great.
Sincere McCormick now has the most rushing yards against this Chiefs defense all season.
That's not something to be super proud of.
That's their biggest issue. But also, it goes back to personnel usage and what some of the stuff Spags was doing.
33. Yeah, they gave up a good amount on the ground on Friday. Yeah, that was not ideal. But other than that, though, great performance from the defense. Tom, what are your thoughts on the defense?
Charles Omenihu looked good. Good to have Charles back. They really ran hot and cold, man, and I think some of that is just the pacing and the long season, and some of them are getting worn down. Secondary matchups seemed illogical at times.
That's a nice way to put it.
And I think some of that is you have Josh Williams out there. You're probably trying to protect him a little bit. Najee Johnson, they made a big deal about him being benched. I think some of those were matchup situations. Same thing we've talked about. Some of these blitzes that Spags is calling just aren't getting home, or they're getting picked up, and it feels like, again, as we've said before, he's not going to hold on to plays that are going to win football games. For the postseason, you play when you play, and I just feel like some of those blitzes aren't getting home. 3 sacks against this offense and this offensive line. I mean, we talked about it before the game. Aiden O'Connell is a statue. I'm not worried about the defense, but I wasn't thrilled with how it all played out. Again, I think some of those blitzes just aren't as effective as we've seen, and some of that's probably the coverage pieces. But Las Vegas gave up 5 sacks to Denver the week before. I'm just kind of running back to see, what the past couple weeks have looked like. This is not an offensive line that should have given us as much trouble as it did. This is not a great team. They have 2 wins on the season. I understand it's divisional. I wanted to see a more consistent and dominant effort from the defense, but again, watching them kind of choke. I don't know if choke's fair because they fumbled, but they gave up a lot on that last drive. And I understand those long kicks are tough, and that's part of the game is you force them to make those long kicks. Some of those drives, a couple of them, they weren't the best field positions, starting. Come playoff time, more teams are going to make those kicks than not. So something you don't want that to be the strategy, right? I also they need a turnover. They need something to spark them. We talked about this before this game. They haven't had. Gosh, I don't know off the top of my head. When was the last interception we had? When was the last spark play that the defense had?
Shamari Connor.
Oh, that's right, Buffalo. Yeah.
It gets forgotten because we lost the game because the offense didn't show up, but Shamari Connor did make a spark play.
That's right.
That game.
Yeah.
That's what gave up in that game too.
Yeah, I mean, and
maybe Spags should stop trying to use him as a corner and let him play safety.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. That is true. We need more at safety. It seems like. Yeah.
Look, man, we can beat the personnel into the dirt, but when your coaching staff, much like on the offensive side of the ball, refuses to set you up for success, something this coaching staff traditionally hasn't had a problem of, but this year has had a horrible issue with,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been. I mean, losing Jalen Watson, it's like crazy how much that seems to have affected, and they just the adapt and the shift of personnel. Like at least they finally kind of got around to it and started using Joshua Williams as cornerback too in this game. I don't know why it took them that long
because
to figure
Spags
that
doesn't
out.
like guys that aren't cerebral, and I'm using the word
Yeah.
cerebral because I'm not trying to be mean and call him not the S word, which
Yeah, but
he's
had
not
he's had more
sometimes.
mental lapses at times
Yeah,
than a lot of the guys.
he's bad in zone coverage, although he made a fantastic play in zone coverage this
Yeah.
game, which is why you saw him get more snaps this game. He
Yeah.
played better this week than now, granted, he hadn't gotten a lot of opportunity, but that's because he couldn't figure out how to run in bounds on a kick and punt coverage. He couldn't figure out how to stop making stupid little mental mistakes. They finally were put into a position where Spags said, fine, you have the physical tools. Yeah, you're what I need physically. We'll deal with the
Gotta go
mental
out there and
stuff if
figure it
we
out.
have to.
Yeah.
And he largely stepped up. Look,
Yeah.
much like I said on the offensive side of the ball with why Andy refused to put certain guys in positions to succeed is a mind-boggling and baffling thing we've been dealing with this year. Spags hasn't had a great year of that. And I think Matt Verderam makes a good point. I've listened to him say it a couple of times this year. I don't know, and I agree with Matt. He said this. I don't know that he knows who his best 11 guys are. Last year, that defense drastically overachieved, okay? And he knew who his best 11 was when he needed his best 11 at any point. He could press the button, go to that grouping, and it didn't matter what the offense was in. Those 11 dudes could figure it out. I don't think they have that right now, largely in part due to some injury and some loss of pieces because they had to in this offseason to make cap space fit, and guys are hurt. It is what it is. But you also, old ball coaches are traditionally stubborn. It's usually how that works, right? Well, when they're really good at something, they don't like going away for it. So they'll take their preference over necessarily the play level that they're getting more often than not, Dan Sorensen.
Dog.
Yeah, dog. Shamari Connor is the same guy with the feast or famine stuff. He's either great or not, and a lot of it has to do with what situation he's put in. He's not a slot corner or a coverage safety. He's a fly around, make plays guy. Great, that's fine. Asking him to cover Brock Bowers for 14 snaps is going to get you torched, and it did.
Just not ideal.
So, again, I'm not as worried about the defense, and I'm not really too worried about giving up the yardage because Spags is the one that's putting them in these positions to get gashed. Stop playing prevent defense. It prevents winning. We've done that on 5 or 6 drives at the end of games this year where you're sitting in soft zone prevent defense and they walk down the field on you. That's what happens. Now, they've blocked a field goal, Denver. They've let them illegal shift fumble, Vegas. Like, it is what it is, but that's on your coaching staff. Stop doing things you know don't work. Stop being stubborn and make the adjustments. Things he hasn't had a problem with in the past. He's made the adjustments. He's changed the things. He's done it. He's not doing that right now. And I think a lot of it has come back to his confidence in who he's putting on the field and what he thinks he has and when he has it. I think Josh Williams will help if Josh Williams can continue to play well and clean up some of the mental, and I think most of it's just eagerness to make a play stuff in when it comes to zone coverage, because he'll, instead of letting a guy go through his zone, he'll run with him 15 yards farther than he's supposed to, and then, oh, whoops, my zone is now wide open, and there's no one near it, and that guy's got 20 yards. Like, that's where his issues have come into play. If you ask him to play press man at the line of scrimmage, good luck, bud. I feel bad for the receiver across from him. He's going to punch you in the mouth at least twice before you leave the line of scrimmage. But put him in those situations. And I know you don't want to have tells with how you're operating your defense when you bring in personnel, but you use Josh Uche for one snap.
Yeah, they've completely abandoned him. They said, all right, we all fun little project.
Well, and they had him on the field, and Chris Jones jumped off sides, and that's the lineup we've wanted to see, because I think it was Josh, Charles, Chris, and I can't remember if it was George or if it was Mike or if it was insert Leo, whoever. But that's the deal there. Also, teams have adjusted how they're attacking this defense because they don't want them in base anymore. They're better in their base defense this year than they are in their sub packages, whether it's nickel or dime. In
Yeah.
base, Leo's on the
Yeah.
field and in the run
Yep.
game and factors in.
I miss Leo.
And not in that, and that part is where I have said, I don't really care how much you love Nick Bolton's calling the plays ability. You have Drew Tranquil for that. Put Drew and Leo on the field in nickel and take Nick off the field. I don't care anymore. He is a liability 85 to 90% of the time in the sub packages. He stands there and gets confused and watches guys run by him. He made 2 plays all game. Great. He also gave up 9.
Yeah.
Like, I understand. So this goes back to you can't pay that dude this offseason what he's going to want. You can't. And he shouldn't be on the field in sub packages. So again, it goes back to coaching and what Spagnuolo is doing, and he needs to make adjustments. I'm not as worried about the defense because he's shown the ability to do that.
Yeah, if there's one you and I have a lot of faith in, it's obviously the defense and Spags to figure things out and put the guys in a little bit better positions going forward, hopefully. So
if we can see it, they can see it. I'm confident in that.
Yeah, you would think so. So with that was kind of Black Friday for the Chiefs Kingdom getting a dub, and then it was then a crazy rest of the weekend for the NFL. Capped off with a wonderful Monday night performance by Jameis Winston to really just put everybody in the festive holiday spirit, which is great to see.
That was drugs. That game was on complete and total drugs.
So now we move forward to Sunday Night Football coming up here versus the Chargers, the second matchup versus the Chargers this year. First one being from week 2 when they were still a very new team under Jim Harbaugh and all that stuff, trying to figure things out. A lot different. They've been a little bit on a hot streak so far. Justin Herbert has been playing some pretty good football at the moment. Lad McConkey, he's continuing to be a baller. Not really anyone else on the receiving core for them. Quentin Johnston's been not good. Their run game though pretty solid. Obviously they've got a pretty good offensive line with Joe Alt there, and then their defense, which has a very very solid defense for what they are. They have a good pass rush. Not as well. We'll get into their whole defensive lineup and everything, but obviously a very familiar team who's not going to go down easily. And Sunday Night Football is going to be a good display for the world of where the Chiefs are currently at in their football journey this season. So yeah, early thoughts. What are we thinking for this game? Obviously, I think we can lead with probably the biggest piece of news relating to football and for the Chiefs, which be DJ Humphries potentially, most likely getting the start at left tackle this game. So that will be an experience to watch, I suppose, getting DJ Humphries in there. Tom, I know you've been a big fan. You and Randy have both been pretty big fans of DJ Humphries' addition. And if he's 100%, or if he's healthy, I should say, isn't going to be 100% coming off of a torn ACL last season. But if he's good to go, I think he is definitely the best option at left tackle for the Chiefs at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, listen, a well-tightened turnstile might be a better option on some of these plays. But DJ was a guy that I early on was like, if we need a vet, bring him in. But it was the medical and getting him cleared, getting him back. So I'm hyped because in a lot of ways this could be a season-defining move. Want to keep the expectations relative. The Chargers have a really good pass rush. Obviously, really Bosa, Bud Dupree's out there. They've got a rotation of guys.
Tupoluto. USC guy, which shout out USC for being horrible this season, but really good up-and-coming pass rusher that Tuli kid is.
What, you don't want to talk about USC right now?
We ain't got to talk about that. We got bigger things on our mind. We got a great USC pass rusher that we're going against, though. I'll tell you what. He has been.
I don't know. I haven't watched much. I'm not,
Tom's not really a college guy. Yeah, you don't.
Just the prospects.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of, Texas does have 2 solid offensive tackle prospects. Although
it's not that time, Tom. We're not doing that. It is not time for draft prospect talk. All right, keep it in your pants.
Anyways, DJ Humphries, big deal. Could be a big deal, and I think even beyond that, I want to see this offensive line get pissed off and put some. I'll borrow a phrase from an old offensive line coach that I used to have. Parents, if you're listening with your children, cover their ears. But I want to see them go out there and knock some people's dicks into the dirt, which was always a weird expression. Yeah, it was a weird expression. Shout out. I don't remember that coach's name. I do remember he got drunk and drove through our Taco Bell drive-through building area, and then was no longer our coach. Shout out, Coach.
Shout out Coach DUI, which we do not support. By the way,
no, yeah,
yes, yeah. We also don't. Yeah, we don't support. We don't support that move, but we do support offensive linemen doing their jobs, putting dicks in the dirt. Other people's dicks, not. Anyways.
Okay.
Block people. Come out with some aggression. Come out with some anger. Let's formulate and stick to a running game. Let's do some things. I will tell you, the Chargers are a good team. They've been playing good football. They have.
Yeah.
It's hard. This is not these, and it's not the Brandon Staley Chargers.
Yeah, he's left that building and cursed a different building now with the 49ers.
Nasakaki is on fire right now. He's the kind of receiver that the Chiefs struggle with.
Shifty.
Herbert's taking care of the ball. I think I know I just saw the injury report earlier in our group chat.
What's your question?
Is Dobbins hurt? Is
He's on IR.
He's on IR. Yeah.
That's what I thought. Yeah, I remember hearing news. So, so there's a lot of things happening. But yeah,
Also, you guys totally forgot to talk about Khalil Mack, who's still on that roster somehow.
Khalil Mack
he is still on there.
Yeah. Not the same team we saw earlier in the year. They want this. I assure you that they're going to want to win this game. I will tell you, I will be at this game. So shout out.
Nice.
Yeah, I keep forgetting that I'm going to the game, but I am going to the game. Shout out to my brothers for hooking me up. It was a birthday present. So
that's cool. Yeah.
Shout out to them.
Good little Sunday night football home
game. Appreciate it, Joe and Josh. Yeah. So if you're gonna be at the game, holler at me. I'll be the big bearded guy up in the nosebleeds.
Hard to miss him.
Yeah, but man, here's the thing. There's been a lot of talk this week about the Chiefs being the worst 11-1 team in the NFL, and I don't care. Listen. You can talk all you want about the history and this and this and this. This is the coach and quarterback who came to Kansas City and won games after they hadn't won a playoff game in my lifetime. This is the quarterback who, was the first quarterback in 20 years to win MVP and the Super Bowl. It's the first quarterback who's been the passing yards leader and has won the Super Bowl. I mean, there's so many of these things historically that they're like, oh, this has never happened. You're just looking, you're scraping
Madden
the barrel
cover twice.
Yeah, Madden cover twice. This is a team that has defied curses and odds and has frustrated teams, and I understand it. I understand you want to believe that the boogeyman's not real, but I've got bad news for you. The boogeyman's real. He lives under your bed, and he sounds like Kermit the Frog. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. They're real. And yes, they're going to pull off these really stupid games where, it's late in the fourth quarter and Patrick Mahomes just decides to take a 33-yard jog down the field so they can kick a field goal, right? It's just going to happen. That is the, Thanos, I am inevitable moment that comes with the Kansas City Chiefs and Andy Reid and this team. As fans who watch them every week, it's frustrating because we see what they could be. We see the highs and we're eager and we're selfish for more and greedy and wanting to see that. We also have probably collectively, like I said, my Zoloft prescription keeps going up. My blood pressure, it's going up. My doctors are like, what are you doing? I'm like, just get me through the season, doc. Just get me through the season. All I need. Yeah. But that's the reality. You can tell me we're the worst 11-1 team in history. I don't care. None of that matters. Here's what matters to this team: winning football games, winning the division, getting the number 1 seed, and getting that bye week, and winning the Super Bowl. That's it. That is the mission. They could win every game by 1 point, and if they accomplish that, they'll be happy.
They will.
They don't care about your point differential. They don't care if you think they're a fraud. They don't care if any of that. This is what I meant to add about the Raiders game, and this is why I will refer to it as historically, because I want to piss off the Raiders fans a little bit. You know what this game is all about? To quote the late Al Davis, just win, baby. Just win. And guess what? They did. They did. Raiders, that's right. That's right, Raiders. You got outrated by the Chiefs. Just win, baby. Just win. Just win. Yep. And they did. That's all that matters. We're stealing it. We're taking it. Raiders, until you can win more than 2 games, we get it. It's ours now. Just win, baby.
Yeah. It's ours now.
We're taking it.
Yeah, Tom, you make some very solid points there. I think, they'll do. That's the one thing that you can always fall back on with this Chiefs team. And, people like to talk about the fact that, history doesn't mean anything for this year. That's just not true, because there's so many winners in that locker room. Obviously, like, all of those guys have won at least 2 Super Bowls together, if not more. Like, they know what it takes to win games. They know how hard winning is in the NFL. Like, they understand that it doesn't have to be pretty, because ultimately it doesn't really matter if you get to the playoffs and then you get to the Super Bowl, and like, that's the goal. Like Tom said, that is the goal. All you have to do is win. It doesn't matter how you do it or what it looks like. And those guys are very familiar with that feeling. They have obviously done that quite a lot in the past few years, where they win the game however it needs to be. And they know what it takes to be like that. They know what mindset they have to have. That you can't get down and out if you have bad plays in the first, second, or third, or fourth quarter. Like, they have the guys around to pick them up, and they have the leadership and the belief and the ability to turn the tables whenever they need to. And they will find a way, just enough in some way, shape, or form to get the job done at the end. So this Chargers game, I think, will be definitely not any different than that script that we've seen already, where it's division matchup. Chargers are hot. They know us very well. They're very familiar with us, coaching staffs wise. A lot of history between Jim Harbaugh and Coach Reed and all that stuff. So it's set up to be a pretty good Sunday night football matchup. Kyle, what are your thoughts initially on the whole game, and what we should expect from Sunday night football?
It's a division game against they're a well-coached football team, which is the first time I can say that in
a while.
God, yeah. I don't even know how long.
Even before Brandon Staley, yeah.
Schottenheimer was the coach, I think, the last time they were well-coached.
Yeah, it's got to go back that far at least, yeah.
I mean, I'm not even trying to be like, Norv Turner was okay at points, I guess.
And then they had the old running back coach. I want to say Vance Joseph, but it's not Vance Joseph. It was a different guy. But yeah, they've not had great coaching in quite some time.
They're also dealing with some injuries. Their main weapon out of the backfield is obviously not playing. J.K. Dobbins is on the injury report. On IR. Is on IR. Oh yeah, Anthony Lynn. Didn't he also coach for the Broncos at some point?
I don't know. He might have, yeah. All those guys just bounce around the AFC West and stink.
Yeah. So, but Lab McConkey was on the injury report today as a limited participant. He's their only receiving weapon pretty much right now. Their offense has been run the ball with J.K. Dobbins, occasionally give Gus Edwards the ball and throw it to Ladd. That's pretty much been what they've been doing.
Yeah.
He was limited with a knee and shoulder. How much of that is he's played a lot of football since he played for Georgia all the way through and basically didn't take an off season with being drafted this year.
Yeah.
Khalil Mack's old, so they gave him a rest day. Bud Dupree and Junior Colson both on the injury report with limited. One's a heel, one's an ankle. Those aren't usually great for big boys. still doesn't necessarily limited could mean they took one less snap than normal. So grain of
Right.
salt, some of this stuff. And the injury report will continue as we go. Denzel Perriman, however, with the growing injuries are unfun if you've never had the fortune of having one of those. Even in it's kind of bothering me. It's still, all it takes is you to look at it wrong occasionally, and that can flare up. So they're a little bit banged up in some areas. They will have both of their tackles back for this game, which they did not in the first game.
Right.
This will be a nice test for this defensive line's pass rush. I would like to see Spags use all of his pass rush specialists in this game on pass rush situations. Yes, that means Joshua Uche.
Maybe use Joshua Uche more. Yeah, you traded for him. Might as well
I
use
don't
him.
know. Yeah, well, hell, they traded for Cam Thomas and Keandre Coburn and Neil Farrell and shipped both of them to Narnia with no remorse. So they don't care about your 5th, 6th, 7th round draft picks that they gave up for assets at this point. I would like to see more Josh Williams in this game. I would like to see Trent McDuffie not leave Ladd McConkey's side. Just fall into the huddle, hang out with him on their sideline, sit in his hip pocket. I don't care what else they do. Put Trent in man coverage on Ladd McConkey and leave him there. It's a good matchup for him. As far as Ladd's not bigger than him. He's not gonna out big boy him. Ladd is not that big of a dude. He's a lot of it's out of the slot. Trent plays, I don't know. He was an all-pro there last year, so maybe let him do what he's best at. Like I said, there are ways for this game to go very smoothly, and then there are ways where they go out and call this game and do some of the crap they did last week with Vegas, and we're sitting here having the same conversation we just had about how did Justin Herbert throw for 390 yards, and how did Gus Edwards have 100 yards when he hasn't done squat all season, and Ladd McConkey had 205 yards, and they scored.
I wouldn't put it past them.
And they scored 16 points. Like, that's a fully real possibility. Like, at this point, Tom, you're muted if you were trying to make that where we.
I was going to say, yeah, and then the Chiefs went on a walk-off punt return.
A walk-off field goal, yeah.
That's about the only way they have it this year is a punt return touchdown or some weird wonky return touchdown.
That'd be electric.
Dude, like, at this point, their biggest question mark for me in this game, if we see DJ Humphries, which I don't know what other options you freaking have at this point other than letting Tooney do it and putting Callie.
Yeah, otherwise I'll give Tooney a full game at left tackle. I mean, might as well.
Well, they're going to. If DJ Humphries isn't playing left tackle, I would be floored if Joe Tooney is not starting at left tackle and Mike Caliendo is not starting at left guard.
Yeah, give him a week of practice to actually maybe learn a good pass set, and then he'd be good.
Gave you every piece of his body that he had.
Yeah, Wanya, you've earned a little break. You know, you've earned a couple weeks off. How about that?
You can't ask him as a coaching staff to go back out there again. You've done it twice in situations that he shouldn't have this year, and he's done it for you. And he's not been able to play as well, and he got absolutely abused for it, whether that be in the game by the defensive end or on social media by his fan base.
Yeah.
Like, he's done everything he can do for you this year. I don't know what that looks like. Maybe he can come back and help you in that three games in 10 days stretch. If you need to spell him for a game, if he can sit for a couple now, great. But for right now, he's giving you all he's got, man. There's nothing left. Let him put some gas in the tank. Let him refuel. Let him get some ice and rest. Some rice on that knee. If you've ever heard the phrase rice, it's rest, ice, compression, elevation. It's one of the tricks of the trade for bruises and bumps and nicks and scrapes. They've got to go out on the offensive side and attack this Chargers defense around Derwin James.
Yeah,
because
he's still good. He's still a very good player.
Well, and it's going to be a traditional, classic, normal Travis Derwin Here you go.
That is the matchup.
You're going to see a lot of each other. Have fun.
Was Derwin was he active the last game?
No,
I forget.
I do not believe he was.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I don't even think he played the last game in week 2. Yeah.
I think what you see from Xavier Worthy, what they do with DeAndre Hopkins, what that Noah Gray looks like, can this offense operate again with Travis dealing with another superstar on the other side being his matchup? They will probably bracket him at points too. Again, still, because it's Travis Kelce and they're a division opponent, and they don't really care about the other weapons until Travis is taken away. Like, this is the stuff that we see time in and time out. For me, this game needs to be better coached. That's really what this game boils down to for me. Don't do whatever the hell last week was or the week before. Those are two of the worst coaching performances from this staff in its existence as it's currently constructed, which has been together for like 4 years now, 5 years now. That was bad. Both games were not well coached on both sides. Well, all three sides of the ball, Dave.
Yeah.
That's the first time I've been frustrated with Dave in a while. The other people on this show get frustrated with Dave rather easily. I do not. I know it was cold, and I know he was kicking a cinder block, and I know the wind was doing the swirly swirls. Kick the ball out of the end zone.
Come on, Matthew Wright. You got to get a little more leg. Go put Justin Reed out there if you need more leg,
Dave, yeah. He doesn't have to kick it straight on the kickoff.
He got to kick it out the end zone.
Through the end zone.
All we need.
And he's an extra tackler at that point and can run before everybody else can. So, miss me.
Or Matarazzi. Even Matarazzi could probably do it, yeah.
Well, I don't know. He's a punter. I don't really want to. That's a risk.
He's kind of a linebacker.
He's kind of a linebacker, according to Drew Tranquil.
I'm not concerned about the tackling. I am more worried about the kicking the ball out of the end zone thing.
Well, I'm pretty sure. I think he did all 3 of them in college, didn't he?
I don't remember.
I think
he did
like everything
in college. I don't remember what the rest of his special teams looked like.
Yeah, that's true. I think he kicked a lot in college too.
The point is, they've got to put their players in better positions from a coaching perspective than they have the last 2 weeks. It has to be better. You cannot continue to do some of the things that they have done. They have to run the ball more effectively and actually run the ball. They have to stop putting certain safeties in man coverage against guys they shouldn't be in man coverage against.
Please just choose your matchups better, Spags, please.
They have to use personnel that they went and acquired specifically to use. And I'm not just talking about one guy. They've got multiple guys on this roster that they specifically got for things that they've not used them for. Yeah. So put the better game plan together. I know these are division opponents. Run your stuff, but make sure that you're not leaving everyone on the planet who doesn't know football half as well as any of you do, scratching their heads as to what the hell is happening, because even we can all see it. I'll never be the one to tell you that I know more football than any of the guys that are on that coaching staff, other than maybe the wide receiver coach.
You probably got to agree, yeah, definitely, yeah.
And I'm almost done with that joke. At this point, it's just a joke that I go to because it's fun at this point. He's been fine. Xavier Worthy's been fine. Rashee Rice has developed.
Xavier Worthy, that's true.
Those guys, if he got both of those right, maybe Sky just
could be an Andy Heck situation though, and just
and again, talent or coaching or hybrid, and it's always a combination. So. It's always a combination of the both. It's always a combination of talent and coaching. But there are things that just jump off the screen one way or the other. They've got to be better in the jump off the screen stuff from a coaching perspective. You cannot, when you're dealing with the amount of injuries and the amount of moving parts and the amount of bodies and the new stuff and this, you can't be getting out coached. Can't happen. So better performance from the coaching staff leads to much better performance on the field from the units that are involved. Leads to a knock on wood comfortable-ish, I'm sure mildly heart attack inducing win on a primetime game on Sunday night. Also, they seem largely bored in the earlier midday games, and they don't wake up until
they don't wake up ever. Yeah, that is a problem. So they just cannot wake up early.
Playing before 4:25 Eastern at this point is just a problem for them. Yeah, I don't know why.
Literally a problem, which is crazy.
It's a Sunday night game. The other thing I will say is
you're wide awake.
That's a California team and it's not going to be warm on Sunday. It's
I
going to
was
be
just
like
looking at
40.
the forecast. Yeah, it's 40 degrees, at least 10-mile-per-hour wind, maybe even a little precipitation.
My kind of weather.
If y'all aren't familiar, most folks from the California desert region, Garrett, what's cold like to you? About 70?
Yeah, I mean, actually 70 is pretty nice. I'd say at least like 55. If it gets below 55, ooh, that's not good. Yeah,
That's
we
the
can't have that.
high for that day is 55
Yeah.
or 57. So
Yeah, that's been a problem with
like
them
kickoff,
warm weather teams recently, not being able to go with the cold weather.
the
Yeah.
Dolphins are a totally separate ballgame, but it's not their favorite thing in the world. They've struggled with it in the past. Now, I do think Harbaugh will help a little bit with that. He did coach at
Geez,
Michigan for the last
warmer,
like
it'd be
6
warmer
years.
though. Sunday night, it's 28 degrees tonight or
Oh yeah,
tomorrow.
it's gonna be and it's gonna be colder the day after the game on the following Monday too. It's gonna be like 30. So, but it's still not gonna be warm for the California folks. It's gonna be a little crispier. They don't necessarily like getting hit when it's cold outside as much. Might drop the ball once or twice. Might fumble the ball once or twice. You might get your turnovers, Tom. You might.
I hope so.
That's what I'm asking for in this game is a better coaching performance, which leads to a better on-field product. That's what I would like to see.
Yeah, I think you guys have both summed it up pretty nicely. Biggest points is just playing good, mistake-free football, offense, moving the ball, and actually converting some touchdowns maybe in the red zone. Just a couple. All I'm asking for is a couple more than the one. Maybe just 2 or 3, and we'd be good. Defense, just figuring the matchups out like we were talking about, and just putting guys in positions to succeed. I think the pass rush is only going to get better with Charles Omenihu, coming off his first game, getting back into the swing of things, and those guys doing good. I think see a little more Isaiah Pacheco, obviously, because he's also coming back off of that first game. So we hopefully see a little more uptake in that and just the running game in general. That's the 2 big things. And then, just limiting those big mistakes, not having more costly penalties. And the biggest thing will just see how the left tackle position holds up. I would agree with Tom. We can't really have super high expectations. If he doesn't
expectations can't get much lower than
it
where
can't
the
get much
bar
worse
is.
than what we've been dealing with. You're right. But if he's not a complete stud out the gate with his first game back, we should just, be a little cautious with it, but very optimistic with DJ Humphries coming in. And
you mean don't add him and create a mob on Twitter for it if it's not a perfect game from him? Really? We shouldn't do that like they do all the time?
He's too nice of a guy, it seems like. He might talk you down with those bright, shiny teeth of his. He might.
That dude's smile is.
Yeah, he has a great smile.
Like,
yeah, he's.
You might go blind if you look at it too long.
I'm sorry. Were you guys talking about me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not your forehead. His teeth.
Oh. Okay. All right. Well, bye, guys.
Oh my goodness!
I love you, Tom.
Technically, I don't have a forehead. It's just all head.
All just starts at your eyebrows and goes.
All head. Yeah, that is. Set yourself up for that one. Okay, so with that, I think we can get to some score predictions here and get out of here. Who wants to go first?
Would you like the lines and the thingies and the
stuff? let's check out them lines.
Yeah,
Tom, you got
a gambler, man.
Yeah,
I
Tom
know
is
all about the gambles.
Newly crowned degenerate gambler. He's joined the
club.
hobby.
The club.
Joined the club. Exactly. So
I won monies once.
Yeah, had a great first weekend. So obviously that will continue forever, Tom. Don't even think otherwise.
I hear you always win money when you gamble.
Tom, you're gonna need another disclaimer from you, Tom.
That is not the views.
Podcast. You're not endorsed. Irresponsible.
Only bet what you can responsibly.
Please call 1-800.
Bet what you're going to lose.
Look up the gambling hotline number in your area.
It's 1-800 gambler.
It's different from state to state. There is a national one.
You can't lose what you don't already have, which is
so the advice there is to only bet what you are willing and capable of losing. Do not do anything more than that, and that's
it all.
But if you happen to want to mortgage your house on some parlays,
so the Chiefs,
what are we looking at?
The Chiefs opened at -3.5 point favorites, which is basically them telling you that they think it's a coin flip at neutral field with the way that they used to do the line. That seems a bit odd to me. I know that they haven't played well, but again, the line is now -4 for Kansas City. The over-under was 43.5. It is now 42.5. and the Chiefs are minus 215 favorites. So,
Yeah.
Chiefs minus 4 with an over/under of 42.5 at the moment is what it is.
That lines up perfectly with my score prediction was going to be. So I'll go ahead and knock mine out the gate. Because the way I see this game going, it lines up pretty well with those unders, I'd say, and the Chiefs not covering. I'm gonna go 20-17. So that would keep that under the total, and also they would not be covering. Just the Chiefs don't cover this year. No matter what we want to think, the Chiefs. I don't know the record off the top of my head, but I think they've been very bad against covering this year.
Well, they've had some very large spreads and won some games very close.
So yeah, they've had some pretty large ones, and that's but I think that trend continues. I think the Chargers at least covered the +4. Just going to be one of those slow games. Hopefully we can get at least 2 touchdowns and a couple field goals on the board. It'll probably end with a walk-off field goal to win it or something crazy. But yeah, I think it's setting up to be another about per usual final score, it seems like, for the Chiefs. That's kind of I bet that would almost be close to the average if you really had to average it all out. So that's my thought. Tom, I know you're such a great gambler now, so you're locked in on this. What are you thinking?
I'm locked in. I am going to go. Let me stroke my beard for.
I'm going to go. Okay.
I'm going to leave.
I'm going to go.
I'm just leaving, actually. Now that you've asked me this question, I'm just going to.
Think about it. I'm just going to go. Yeah.
2023. I'm going to go. I think the Chargers get at least 2 touchdowns. They'll kick a couple field goals.
Will they all go in?
Probably.
Isn't Dicker their kicker?
Dicker is indeed their kicker.
Dicker is the kicker. I'm going to go 23-27. No, I lied. 23-30.
In favor of the Chiefs?
In favor of the Chiefs, yes.
Okay, just making sure. Just making sure.
That's the weirdest way to do a score prediction.
Yeah, I don't think that's how you're supposed to. Typically, the winning team that you're rooting for is the first number you put out, like 30-23. But 23-30,
I spent so much time. Here's my strategy. I was trying to figure out how much I think the Chargers are going to score.
Yeah.
And then I just need the Chiefs to score more, and 30 is more than 23. So yeah.
Okay.
But I also feel like they're gonna more touchdowns than
30 points would be a lot for the Chiefs, but I would love to see it.
You heard it here first, folks. 23-30. It's guaranteed, or Kyle's shaving his head like me.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
While I agree with Garrett that I'm not 100% sure that they cover this game, I don't know that it stays under that 42.5 number. I think this game is more like 26-23. I think there will be some movement in this game from the offenses. I think you will see some points. I think there will be some more touchdowns in the red zone, especially after Patrick basically spent the last 3 minutes after they didn't score in that last red zone possession screaming his way to the sideline. And people took that as he was mad at the tackle, and he was not. He was mad at the fact that they were like 1 for 5 in the red zone by the time that day was over, and was ready to lose his mind because there were some things that they missed. There were some things that were open. There were some drops. There were some, again, cacophony of errors that just could not overcome, yet still won the game. So I think there's going to be a little more emphasis from them this week in that portion of the field. I don't know how many touchdowns it turns into, which is why I'm in that 26-23 realm. So that seems to be where I'm at for this. They'll go over the total. I just don't know that they cover because you're gonna get another rock fight attempt from the Chargers. They're gonna try to take this game into the mud. They're gonna want to run the ball even without J.K. Dobbins. They're gonna want to try to lean on that offensive line and run play action to McConkey off of it. I just don't. Did somebody get a text message just now? What was that?
Sorry, I was muting my mic because there's a very loud.
I know, that's why that was the joke. Like there was a text message coming through your phone that was sitting on your keyboard, and it was like, If you're old enough to remember that, Garrett probably isn't. But
Keyboard, like the
when you
keyboard tones.
no, like when you used to get messages to your phone and they were sitting too close to your computer, so it created like static inside microphones and whatnot
Oh, I
and
get what
stuff
you're
like
talking.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the technology continues to improve. So the younger generations don't have some of the same
They
issues
don't
we
get
all
it.
did
They
growing
don't
up.
get it like us old
I
motherfuckers, huh?
I would say that they get to 27, 23. I'm a little concerned that there might be a kicking something happen. Whether
Kicking
that's
snafu.
they don't score enough in the red zone or an extra point goes wonky. It's where the 26 comes from. I think this game is another one of those they should have won by more, but they didn't conversations that we have every week. And I'm sure there will be some goofy, stupid thing that happens that has everybody else screaming that it's rigged and yada yada. So can't wait to look forward to having those dumbass conversations again this week, like we do every week now.
Yeah, maybe Mahomes runs slightly towards the sideline and everyone accuses him of faking going out of bounds and stuff like that. Or
meanwhile, not discussing the quarterbacks who have actually fake slid in that kind of crap. Where 17 might be tall and just got engaged. I don't know. Who's actually done that in a game? Oh, and Kenny Pickett, who's not in the league anymore. So there's that.
Yeah, he did that.
Anywho,
That was a good one.
Yeah, that's how this whole conversation started. He might be in the league, Tom. He's not playing anywhere in the league.
Philip Rivers just got engaged.
Jesus Christ, Philip Rivers. No, he's 12 kids deep.
He is very well
for
engaged.
a little bit.
He's been,
But like I said, I would go 27-23. I just think there's something stupid that happens. So 26-23 and the Chiefs squeak one out.
Fair enough. If there's one thing you can almost certainly count on in a Chiefs game is that something stupid will probably happen. That is almost a guarantee at this point. But it's all about just doing something less stupid than your other team does. And we have to remember at the end of the day, no matter what the Chargers, who is leading the Chargers, what is on the Chargers, anything about the Chargers, because they are the Chargers still and they will always Charger. That's kind of just the thing.
That too, because the Chargers do be chargering. Also, I did want to briefly, and this will be my last thing before Garrett or Tom does his last thing, Garrett gets out of here. In Tom's point about the worst 11-1 teams and the yada yadas and the nonsensical stupid things. One, I would just like to mention the 2020 Steelers as a candidate. People forget. I know it was the COVID year, and everybody tries to block out that year around that time period completely from their memory. But that team was 11-0 and then got double bopped by the Baker Mayfield-led Cleveland Browns once in Week 17 to let the Browns make the playoffs, where they didn't start their starters, the Steelers didn't, and then got thwacked by him in the first round of the playoff games, and Ben Roethlisberger pulled a Jameis Winston and threw for 500 yards and 4 touchdowns and 4 picks. So,
banger of a game.
Much like the whole distance makes the heart grow fonder thing with the Orlando Brown thing, I know our attention spans and our memories are the lengths of goldfish in today's society, but this isn't anywhere close to the worst 11-1 team in history. Also, most of those other 11-1 teams in history weren't back-to-back defending Super Bowl champions.
None of them were.
Yeah, that's And speaking of back-to-back defending Super Bowl champions and somebody that knows how hard it is to win in the NFL every week, if you don't want to listen to us or to Mahomes or to Andy or to any of the other people that know what they're talking about when it comes to what it means and how difficult it is to win in the league, go ask Tom Brady, because he told you on Colin Cowherd's show a couple of days ago now, I believe, hey, they're not lucky. They don't beat themselves. If you want to win against the Chiefs, you have to beat them. They're not going to give it to you, even though we disagree. They try to give people opportunities all the time in these games. It's hard to win. And you know who knows that better than anyone? Brady, because those 2003, 2002 back-to-back teams, the team that didn't have Randy Moss, the teams that weren't the greatest teams that he's ever played with, they won games like this all the time. And you know what the conversations were? Well, they were deflating footballs and doing some other sketchy stuff like spying on sidelines. But
Cheating,
also,
yeah.
the refs were in their pocket and the this and that. And guess what? Chiefs fans were guilty of saying that about them. I gained more empathy for the Patriots fan base from 2000 to 2020-ish than I ever in my wildest dreams thought I would. Every single week we continue with this team. Because
Yeah.
Chiefs derangement
Yeah.
syndrome has reached a nearly
Yeah.
diagnosable level in like the DSM-5. Some of you will know what that is. If you don't know what the DSM-5 is, you can Google it. It's going to end up in there, and they're going to be able to prescribe you things for it one of these days at the rate that we're going. Because because now that Trevor Lawrence got knocked out by a freaking Houston Texans linebacker in a game we weren't even playing in on a day we weren't even playing on, it is somehow Mahomes' fault. Thank you, Jacksonville reporters and beat writers and other things. This is where we are with this franchise. This is where we are with this team. Winning in this league is hard. They don't always make it look pretty. They don't always make it look easy, but they get it done because in the moments when the big plays have to be made and the things have to be done, they make them and the other team doesn't. And sometimes the other team doesn't because they crap their pants thinking about the big plays that the other team they're playing against, the Chiefs, know how to make. The Raiders, illegal shifts snapping the ball where the quarterback's not looking. Like, this stuff happens when you play good teams because they make you beat them. So even when you're there and you've done everything right and you get down to those last couple of minutes and stuff goes haywire, part of that's why.
The boogeyman is real. He's under your bed and he sounds like Kermit the Frog.
That is a great way to end this out. If you've stuck around with us this long, we appreciate you for making it this far. It's been an interesting time in Chiefs Kingdom, but one thing we have to always remember, of course, we are 11-1 still, and the real football has still yet to begin. If we're really being honest, this is all still preseason. The real season starts December and then in the playoffs. So that's, everything we've seen here. It's just been a warm up. Just kind of getting some feelers out there, and we're still in control of our destiny to get to the 1 seed, get that extra bye week, which would be very helpful about now. Chris Jones is very justified in showing up the NFLPA office this offseason.
I don't blame him for being mad about the part where they had a bye like 4 months ago and they're playing 3 games in 10 days. That
is pretty ridiculous. So,
but the other part is they win this game. Guess what they are again?
In a great spot.
AFC West division champions.
Oh, is it the?
They'll be 12-1. Yeah. They'll be 12-1. The Chargers would be 8-5, and Denver would be 8-5, and they hold tiebreakers over both of them.
Yeah, that's a 4-game. Yeah, so that'll do it once again. Yeah, I mean that secured a playoff berth last week off of that win. First team in the NFL to do so, and then
I'm near positive it's a clinch situation this year.
I would imagine because both the Broncos and the Chargers are going to be 4 games behind us, and we have tiebreakers. Yeah, I would imagine.
And the only game that they could take the tiebreaker and turn it into a non-tiebreaker would be the last game of the season. So shout out Mr. Harold Kuntz, or the Pat McAfee show. Yeah, anyway, y'all know if you know.
It's Kuntz.
With the playoff scenario for the Chiefs of win Sunday, win the AFC West, he also then put up the last 8 AFC West winners. Any guesses on who that is?
I think the Chiefs.
Yeah, with the worst record being 10-6 in 2017 and the best being 14-3 in 2022. Or 14-2 in 2020, depending on how many games you played. But if they win Sunday night, they complete the second goal and the main first goal on their list of their way back to where they want to be, win the division.
Win the division. The next thing is just getting that 1 seed and
win the division, get the bye, win the Super Bowl.
Bing, bang, boom. So with that, appreciate you all for tuning in and watching this one. Be sure to follow us at Kingdom Says Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Check us out over on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcasts at. We will see you guys next week probably hopefully for 2 episodes once again, just with the holidays and everything like that. We knocked down the 1 for this week, but we will be back in full force next week with more content and hopefully some more fun Chiefs football to talk about, and not some more hair pulling out of your head Chiefs football to talk about, which, Tom's already got that covered for us. So, yeah. I'm sorry, Tom. You need that last shot at the very end of the episode. But sorry, nobody's listening already anyway. So that's it. And thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. We will see you guys on the next episode of The Kingdom Says.